This week's episode of the Skeptic Zone podcast is dedicated to the memory of Grant Imahara, a champion of science and reason and an inspiration to millions.
Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 614 for the 19th of July, 2020. Richard Saunders here with you from Sydney, Australia, and it looks like it's going to be a nice sunny day. Coming up on this week's show, we have an interview with my friend Abhijit Chanda from the Rationable podcast in India, a quick update as to the COVID-19 situation there, and what effect, if any, and no spoilers, that homeopathy and Ayurvedic medicine have on this pandemic. Now, one of the reasons I regularly check in with Abhijit is that here in Australia, the Homeopathy Plus outfit, group, gang, business, who really do think homeopathy is the answer to just about everything, were, although not so much now, I've noticed, were trumpeting the fact that homeopathy was working so well in India and all eyes are on India and look at the great situation in India. Sadly, this is not the case. Following that, it's the short story of a poor man stuck up a tree. This is very confusing, but we'll discover why a bit later on. Then we have the Think Tank, and this week, joining me in the Think Tank, our special guests, Lara Benham in Sydney, Celestia Ward from Las Vegas from the Squaring the Strange podcast, and regular Skeptic Zone reporters Michelle Bijkersma in Melbourne and Michelle Franklin in Humpty-Doo. That's a great sounding name, in the Northern Territory. And amongst the things we'll be discussing in the think tank is the outrageous occurrence of fake signs being placed in or on Melbourne children's playgrounds, encouraging children to play together during a lockdown during the pandemic. Also, a clothing company who received a massive fine for making false claims about their clothes in relation to COVID-19. And the VAXXED bus on tour, which really should be called the VAXXED bus. Now, thank you to those people who take the time to write into the Skeptic Zone via the best thing to do, seriously, is to go to the Facebook page and leave comments under the listing for the episode. That's so everybody can see it and things like that. And to my friends in Japan, I have a message. If I press a button somewhere, here it is.
それは訪問するのがいいでしょう.
I hope that Google Translate got that right. But now it's time for me to run downstairs, and have a good old-fashioned cheese toasty. Cheese on toast. Actually, they're two different things, I think. Cheese toasty is when you put cheese inside some bread and put it in a griddle or a cheese press or a toasting machine or something. And cheese on toast is when you put cheese on toast and microwave it for a few moments to make it all runny. I'll go downstairs and decide, and while I do that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. All the way from New Delhi in India, it's the host of the Rationable podcast, Abhijit Chanda. Hello, Abhijit.
Hi, Richard. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I wish I could say that Australia was doing as well as we were doing some weeks back. Unfortunately, you may have seen in the news, there's been quite a big resurgence of the virus in this country, but yeah, it's too bad.
Well, at least you guys have a resurgence and not, and you've managed to come down, so you know what needs to be done. We haven't even peaked yet.
It's very, very troubling. And could you please for our audience around the world, could you tell us what the latest situation in India is?
Yeah, well, this is definitely not what the homeopaths wanted or expected, but we have just hit a big milestone, 1 million cases. In fact, it's 1,003,832 as of 1 hour ago.
Wow. And it's frightening to say this, but it's probably true that the number must surely be a lot more, because in a country like India, there would be enormous problems in getting really the correct numbers.
Yeah, exactly, because we had this huge migrant crisis where the migrants wanted to get back home because living in the city with no work was too expensive, and there were a host of other problems. And they were hoarding, they were doing anything. I mean, I think I told you about this last time, where people were trying to get back home and many of them dying on the journey because it's usually hundreds of kilometers. And the government then has made initiatives to get them home. But now that they're home, they have, a lot of them, I'm sure, have spread the virus even deeper into the rural areas, which is, of course, where a lot of cases probably are, and we still don't know about it.
Well, the reason that you say that, despite what the homeopaths say or what they've done or anything like that, it's we really do want to make the point again and again that homeopaths, especially in this country and probably other countries, were saying, look at India, they're rolling out the homeopathy and they're doing so much better than the rest of the world. You know, homeopathy can treat and cure anything. It's just wonderful. And we can see by these horrifying figures that why would magic, sugar and water make any difference at all?
Exactly, that it just doesn't, and it hasn't. In fact, it's not homeopathy that has been the problem now. I think people have got the message that homeopathy doesn't work, especially in this case. And so the homeopathic community have been relatively quiet over the last month or two. I think they had a little bit of a resurgence in May when we talked last time, but now it's Ayurveda in the spotlight. So recently there was this huge ruckus, and I'm actually quite heartened by the response that it got, but not happy with the conclusion. There's this huge FMCG, Ayurvedic FMCG company called Patanjali Ayurveda, which is started by a yogi called Baba Ramdev. And when they were just about to release their mixtures and potions, they said that this is going to be this is going to go through a clinical trial. This is going to be an evidence-based Ayurvedic medicine that they had tested over 100 people in hospital situations who had been diagnosed with COVID, and it had 100% success rate.
What?
Yeah, that was mind-blowing. And I mean, I think anybody would say that if that was true, we would love to get our hands on that stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they've never released a clinical trial. And the details that came out of the clinical trial, especially when it was, or the registration of the trial, is that it was done on 100 random people. Not all of them had been confirmed to, over 100 random people. Not all of them had been confirmed to have COVID.
Yeah.
They were given the medication and then tested. And they were also within the age brackets of around between 20 and 45 or 60. I don't remember the exact number, but they were in the safe zone, relatively speaking, which means that they have a much higher chance of recovering even if they did have COVID-19, but they weren't actually guaranteed to have it, to have entered the test. So, unsurprisingly, none of that came out. That trial still hasn't seen the light of day, and they have been running around all over the place. Fortunately, the press has been very hard on them. Even the Ministry of Ayush, which is supposed to have been the Ministry of Quackery that we have, which is we're so right. honored to have.
Yes.
They told these guys that you still haven't shown us a clinical trial. How are you taking these products to market? This is false advertising. I was like, yes, finally. But I was like, this is not going to last long. Several states actually banned the product in the markets because they said this is a hoax, this is a scam. And it blew my mind because this kind of thing has never happened in this country before, where an Ayurvedic product comes out and it's been taken off the shelves. And soon after that, the spokespersons for Patanjali quickly said, "Oh, we never said that this was a cure. We never said that. It's just an immunity booster." And so you can imagine the face palming, and my face is bruised after all of that. And it's been, and this is such a textbook example of and it's a microcosm of the alternative medicine industry, where you have people trying to make big claims, getting shut down, and then backtracking to a safer, more vague position called immunity boosting.
Oh, we get that too. Yes, boost your immunity. I've seen it in the shopping mall near me. There's a vitamin store, and it says a big poster, boost your immunity. Yeah.
And I've recently written a piece. I've just released my first YouTube video, which is all about immunity boosting. I would love for your viewers to go check it out. But one thing which happened, I interviewed Dr. Shantanu Abhyankar, who I met at the CSICon meeting in Vegas in 2018, and he said something which is very pithy. He said that for COVID-19, you don't need an immunity booster because the people who are having the most extreme symptoms already have an immune system that's gone into overdrive and caused a cytokine storm, which is causing overall inflammation. And that is why dexamethasone, which has been recently discovered in the UK to have beneficial effects on people who have the extreme case of COVID-19, that is a steroid that lowers inflammation. It modulates the immune system, and that is what saves lives. So boosting immunity is exactly the opposite of what you need to save yourself from COVID.
It's interesting because it sounds so good, doesn't it? It's like giving yourself a shield or protection, boost your immune system, and the nasty
superpower.
Now, just quickly, for those people who may not know exactly what we're talking about, what is Ayurvedic medicine?
Ayurvedic medicine is very closely connected to Indian culture because it is mentioned in the scriptures. There's an entire book in the scriptures dedicated to that. It is thousands of years of preparations, of herbal preparations that have been brought about from anything you can find in nature as medicines. Now, that's great on the whole. In principle, that is what science used to be, where you test out different ingredients and different materials. I mean, that's how we got that's how we got hydroxychloroquine from quinine, which comes from the tree bark. That's how we got aspirin from the willow bark. But the problem is the methodology for Ayurveda has been frozen into 1,000 years ago, and it has never evolved since then, at least 1,000 years ago, if not more. And so a lot of it is untested. A lot of them contain heavy metals like mercury and lead and other materials like molybdenum, etc., which are still dangerous. And a lot of people have reported in to have heavy metal poisoning after taking certain Ayurvedic preparations. So now it's not evidence-based at all. In fact, if they had evolved along with modern medicine and said, okay, we need to make our processes more strict instead of sticking to scripture, we might have had an entire school of real medicine. And they might still be if we test them out. But right now, they're operating just like any other alt-med scam.
Wow. Well, you've certainly got a lot of work cut out for you there in India, Abhijit. I don't envy you that. I mean, I'm glad you're there and doing what you can do. I'm very sorry to hear about those figures, but it does reiterate for us that all these claims about Ayurvedic or homeopathy, being in the forefront of India, the fight of the COVID virus in India are just so much nonsense.
Yeah, and we are easily led on by a lot of the nonsense. And those WhatsApp messages, though a lot of them have gone down, we've had some good advertising and promotion of not forwarding misinformation. So that has taken quite a bit of effect. But there is a lot of it going around still. And, well, I'm trying to fight it in whatever way I can and spread information and good information instead of misinformation. So fingers crossed that people are learning from it. And, I hope we peak and start coming down soon, because without that, we are in deep doo-doo.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, to hear skeptics, and I do it myself, we say fingers crossed. But seriously, fingers crossed for you and the whole
Absolutely.
subcontinent. It's not a good situation at all. Abhijit, keep doing what you're doing, folks. The podcast is called, it's the Rationable Podcast. Links to that and the other things that Abhijit mentioned will be in this week's show notes. Abhijit, let's catch up soon, and hopefully there may be some better news.
Thanks, Richard. Stay safe, stay at home, and I hope Australia also recovers from all of this really soon, as is for the rest of the world.
To the manager, Yeti, Bigfoot, and other assorted monsters adventure tours. Dear manager, I am writing to you under somewhat difficult circumstances, perched as I am halfway up a tall tree in the middle of nowhere in a howling gale. I have been waiting patiently here for the last 3 days in order to photograph the giant, hairy, human-like biped you assured me would appear. So far, however, all I have seen are 3 tabby cats, a sausage dog called Henry, and an angry koala, apparently a resident of this tree. Oh, and 2 hikers, although I will admit the taller of the 2 hikers did have a long beard. Please advise if the police helicopter, now circling overhead, is part of the promised, quote, fun and excitement, as mentioned when I booked this tour.
Please come down out of the tree, sir. We have hot tea waiting for you and someone you can talk to. Please come down.
Yours, etc., etc. P.S. Next time, I think I will opt for your water monster experience, listed as 2 days and nights in a warm bathtub.
Join us now for Drinking Skeptically in the Think Tank.
Think. I think we're all synced. We're synced or we're sunked. Everybody, we're sunked. I'd like to welcome you to another session of the Think Tank here on the Skeptic Zone. Joining us today, we have down south, we have Michelle Bijkersma. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Richard, and hello, everybody else. It's good to be here.
And on the flip side of the country, way up north, near Humpty Doo in the Northern Territory, we have Michelle Franklin.
How you going?
We're doing as well as we can. Here in Sydney, we have a special guest. It's you've heard her before on the Skeptic Zone, mainly in Skeptics in the Pub, I think. It's Lara Benham.
Hello, Richard.
Hello. And our other special guest today, all the way from Las Vegas, and I do miss Las Vegas. It's from Squaring the Strange, Celestia Ward. Hello.
Hi, Richard. How's everybody today?
Good. How are you?
Everybody's nodding.
We're great.
We can edit that pause out, yeah?
We forget because we're all looking at each other. So sometimes we're doing facial expressions or nods and things instead of remembering.
Because nodding and smiling makes for great podcasting.
It does. I mean, the audience, I'm sure, are amused to think what we're up to. Okay, now a message from Dr. Cassandra Perryman. Now, as listeners may well remember, on the last Think Tank, Dr. Cassandra joined us to tell us about her ups and downs with COVID-19. She actually had the virus. And she was going to join us today, and I just got a message to her saying that she's got a possible secondary infection or a flare-up or something. And she's
oh no.
just seeing what the doctor has to say. So we wish her all the best. Hopefully it's not too serious, but that's why she can't join us right at the moment. Fair enough. She's got some other things to worry about. Now, on last week's episode, you would have heard Michelle Franklin talking about water divining, and that item has got a little bit of feedback, which is really nice. So, Michelle, you're having issues with your bore water. How's that going?
Oh, this is an ongoing thing for me. So my bore is 29 years old. I got it airlifted about 2 years ago. So that's when they pump air down into the hole, and that forces all the water to spray out in this big geyser of red mud, and all the iron ore and the dirt comes out. And then it fills up again, and we pulled the pump out of the hole yesterday, the day before. I think it's about 40 metres down, my one.
Wow.
Which is a little bit too high. I need it to be a bit deeper. We pulled it out of the hole, and we found that the impellers on the pump are just clogged with mucky, red, silty iron ore. So that's down at the repair shop getting repaired. So I'm on call at the moment waiting for the guy to bring the pump back to me so we can put it back down in the hole again.
And you didn't need to get a water diviner after all?
No, well, hopefully not. Once the pump is repaired and we put it back in the hole, hopefully there's still some water down there. I've got about 5 kilolitres left in my tank, and it's not going to rain until about November. So
wow.
I'm really hoping that hole keeps working for a little bit longer.
So, well, let's flip down to the other part of the country now in Victoria, Melbourne. Michelle Bijkersma, oh, dearie me, over the last week, things have not been going so well with the outbreak, have they?
Well, we're on day 10 of lockdown now.
Ooh.
And we had our record number of new cases yesterday at 428, which has alarmed people because it's during lockdown. But it was always predicted to rise because the results you see on any given days indicate what was happening 10 days earlier. So the other thing that means we shouldn't be alarmed is that spread has gone down. So a single individual is no longer affecting the more people than they were before lockdown. I'm not sure of the numbers exactly, but I think it's maybe gone from, rather than infecting 2 people, it's down to more likely to be infecting 1.
Right.
That's how I basically understand it. So while there are a total number of new cases that's higher, the spread by individuals is lower. So we're optimistic. And it's been, a really different experience this time because we've locked down for this amount of time before. And I think the first time it was a little bit novel. People didn't know what to expect. A lot of structures and supports had to be put in place. And, it was almost policy on the run, really. Whereas this time there's more a feeling of despondency. It's like, oh, here we go again. We were so close, to having it well under control when we got down to 0 cases. And now, of course, Victoria's broken away from the rest of the country in its number of cases. And, we were basically pretty unlucky with our hotel quarantine protocols broken by the security guards and the quarantined return travellers in there. But, this was not the only state where protocols were broken, and it happened in New Zealand as well. We just happened to have the positive cases that got out into the community. So Victorians, some people are taking it personally that other states are treating us like a pariah.
Oh, dear.
state and feeling, bad about that. It's not personal, though. I don't think anyone should be worried. It could happen anywhere, and it's not about us as individuals. It's just, there were certain things that happened. There's less of a feeling of we're all in this together, as it was a slogan we often heard the first time. It's more apparent that we're not all in this together. Apart from Victoria being the only state where this is happening, there were the hotspot suburbs that got locked down, and I felt this was a good strategy, that there were just hotspot suburbs locked down. There was massive testing, there was door knocking and tests brought to people, and it seemed like we didn't have to lock down Melbourne or the whole state. But I don't think those people enjoyed that particularly much. And then, of course, the towers got locked down really hard with half an hour's notice, and that certainly made people not feel like they were all in it together. And now the whole of Greater Melbourne is locked down. I think that feels more equitable to people. I don't know that anyone resents that the country and the regional areas are not locked down. I think people feel it's fair enough that they don't have spread and that they should be able to stay open and probably helping sustain the economy in the state. So that's quite a different feeling. The other thing that's a little bit different this time is the finger pointing. We didn't have that last time. Previously it was the whole country really, and it was return travellers in quarantine. That's were the main cases everywhere. But this time, with the community spread, and because we're going through it again, there seems to be more blame being assigned.
I think it's a lot easier to say it's not our fault when it's people coming in already carrying it.
Yeah.
When it starts spreading within the community, that's a completely different thing.
Yeah, and there's finger pointing, whether it's at the security guards, the travellers who interacted with them, the government for hiring private security firms instead of the Australian Defence Force. So there is that kind of finger pointing. And then it's like become a bit uglier with it being concentrated initially in northwestern Melbourne and spread due to large family gatherings. So then people started pointing to ethnic minorities. Yeah, so that seems to have died down now. I haven't really seen that for a while. Now that, again, Melbourne-wide, the lockdown's happening, that finger-pointing seems to be lessening. It's more like, 10 days in, we're just sucking it up now. And, there's just a more of a quiet acceptance that there's something that we have to go through here and that we will come out the other side and hopefully, I think, get our numbers down. I think that's what's on everyone's mind now, that rapid increase in numbers. I mean, last think tank, I was saying, we were in double digits at 10, 20. I think that day it hit 40 later in the day. And now we're 428.
From one side of the Pacific to the other, and it's a completely different story in the United States. And as we all know, things aren't going terribly well. How are things looking in Las Vegas, Celestia?
Well, they aren't going terribly well is certainly one way to put it. Michelle, you mentioned feeling like a pariah because of a particular part of Australia doing worse than the rest of Australia. And well, America is kind of taking that role in the whole world, it looks like. And there's been some announcements about certain red zones. And Nevada, my home state, where I'm sitting talking to you right now from, is a red zone. What that means is that means we have more than 100 cases per 100,000 people. So I believe we here in it wasn't Las Vegas, it was Nevada, hit a new record of new cases yesterday, which for me on the other side of the Pacific would be the 16th of July. It was 1,380 cases.
Oh boy.
So now Vegas is a unique place, and we're really kind of puzzling about what our future is going to be here, because we've got a population that's just a bit over 2.5 million, but we are a giant siphon of visitors. And last year alone, we had 42.5 million people pop in for a visit and drink and gamble and spread their germs. And in order to continue our tourism-based economy, we would need the same sort of thing to happen. And that's not going to happen anytime soon. Texas and Florida are leading the pack, and so Nevada isn't quite as bad as they are right now as far as alarming surges go. But as I said, we are designated as one of the 18 red zone states right now by a recent report. Our governor, Steve Sisolak, issued a mandate for masks. Everybody now has to wear masks in public places in Nevada. A lot of states are doing that. Compliance in Nevada hasn't really been great. I'm sure you guys have seen some of the videos that have gone around social media with uppity Americans refusing to comply with
Yes.
requests. And I think that the governor had some sort of survey that looked at what businesses were doing, and less than half were complying. It was almost half. It was like 49%. But that doesn't bode well. So phase 2, which was kind of the reopening of everything, was supposed to take place in phases. And we got to phase 2, and then he announced that phase 2 was going to last at least until the end of July. And then he's rolled back and said that bars have to close. So as of last Friday, a lot of bars had to shut down, and restaurants had to limit the tables to 6 people or fewer. Unsurprisingly, experts have traced this back to July 4th, which that's not a holiday you guys really have to worry about in Australia. But that was a big firework exploding, barbecue having, socialization, drinking holiday out here. And so that has led to a big surge weeks later, unsurprisingly.
Yes, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that you say that a lot of people getting together in close company and having a great time and drinking and merriment would result in a disease being...
It's almost like cause and effect comes as a surprise to people. Like, I don't know.
So you're saying that you're pretty much a big siphon of tourists. Has that stopped? Or are there still tourists around?
See, that's the thing. The tourists we are getting are the people who don't put cause and effect together. We are getting a certain type of tourist. We are getting people from Southern California and Arizona who still think it's a hoax, or at least think they're magical enough to avoid it, who don't think anybody should be locked down anywhere, who are going to strike out and just see what kind of fun they can rustle up in Las Vegas. And that's who we're getting. I don't think any really sensible people in America are planning a vacation to Las Vegas. I would be hopeful that in the future, maybe 3 months or 3 years down the road, we can have sensible people back. But right now, business owners are well aware that they are catering to a clientele right now of the bold and the insensible. And they've just got to kind of, protect their employees and try to, get their earnings and get the bar tabs paid. But Las Vegas has built its entire fortune on a marketing campaign that encourages irresponsible behavior. We kind of invented that,
Yeah.
So we made the bed and now we're having to lay in it. Now, my little personal circle, I know a lot of people, who are entertainers, who are, magicians and comedians and DJs and stage managers and party organizers and people like me who book out as convention talent. I'm talking caricature artists, jugglers, booth babes, and a lot of us are coming to grips with the fact that, some of us might not be able to return to our jobs, period. I mean, what I do, I can pick up and do this 5 or 10 years later, but somebody who is a peak performance Cirque du Soleil acrobat, that's got a short window. You don't do that for 25 years. you do it while you're at the peak of your physical.
Can't really do that online either.
Yeah, you can't really do a lot of what you can get at Vegas online. So Cirque du Soleil.
Are you managing to keep working by going like remote, doing lots of like homework?
Some of my friends have lined up Zoom parties where they actually are drawing small corporate events via Zoom, much like the way we're conducting a meeting right now. But I would just have my tablet and I'd be drawing people and emailing you the images. I've booked one of those parties so far, and I am also doing just commissions and stuff like that. So I can fall back on that. And I also have a second career. A lot of people are looking at as Ivanka Trump has announced, find something new, Americans. Find something new to do.
Well, there you go.
It's so easy. That's so easy.
Yeah. So
hey, I can vouch for Celestia's commission work. Everyone see?
That's right.
Wow.
I drew your family last year or sometime.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
How awesome is that? So if anyone needs a portrait done.
Well, I can tell you that I personally can vouch for Celestia's wonderful caricature work. She did one of me some years back, which is on my business cards. And Michelle Bijkersma, you've got a caricature by Celestia.
Handy, actually.
I have drawn many Australians remotely, yes, through the internet. But I'm really hoping that conventions and parties come back soon. I do have a wedding scheduled in August. Oh, there it is. Once again,
cool.
for listeners, this makes for great podcasting.
Yeah, we're all holding up photos at the moment. Just try to imagine us, but in caricature form.
But with funny faces, yeah.
With funny faces. But I can say, in all seriousness, your caricatures just hit the spot. I mean, the one of me is so funny and flattering. And the one of Michelle Bijkersma, I haven't seen the one of Michelle Franklin's family closely, but the one of Michelle Bijkersma, you just got her to a T, and everybody who saw it was just bowled away, Oh, there, yeah, okay, there's the big family.
You can even recognise my dogs.
Oh, good grief.
The dogs as
Oh, people love getting there. Yeah.
So if people,
I'm the only one here that doesn't have one, but Celestia, we'll talk about that at the end. I really would like one.
Yes. I'll send you my info. Yes.
but please send where can people go if our...
I've got an online special that's still going. I think you have what's the word I'm looking for? I believe you have advertised for me before, Richard, which I always appreciate.
I have.
twoheadsstudios.com. It's a numeral 2, so number 2, HEADSSTUDIOS.com. You'll see a little link on there where you can send a photo, and I'm doing a low cost special of $30 digital caricatures for people.
And they're fabulous.
And that's helped pay some grocery bills. But my husband and I were just talking today about, okay, well, if this goes on for like a year, which retirement account should we siphon money out of? Should we sell a car? Everybody's kind of looking at, okay, how long is this going to last? And of course, another option would be moving. I'm pretty sure Las Vegas is going to lose a lot of population over the next 2 years.
But I don't understand. You live in Las Vegas. I mean, they keep telling us if we go to Las Vegas, we can, have a great time at the casino. Just go there and you can make lots of money on the tables, right? I mean, that's what they tell everybody.
Yes, just don't touch anything while you're doing it. Don't touch anything and keep your mask on.
Anyway, folks, we can all recommend the wonderful caricature work of Celestia. But let's move on to some of the other topics that we've had put up here today to chat about. And a frightening subject came up just about a week ago, where somebody in Melbourne put up a fake sign on a local playground for children. And I've got that, I just pulled that fake sign up. It's frightening because this sign was, the playgrounds are shut, obviously, because there's a lockdown and people are being very cautious and careful, and there's very good reason for that. City of Kingston, park open in big green letters, and it looks all very official. Kingston City Council recognises that a strong immune system is the best defence against the current COVID-19 threat, and children are the safest community group. Your children can best maintain a healthy immune system by the following. Tick, regular vitamin D. Tick, regular physical activity. Tick, healthy eating habits. Please observe all required social distancing measures while using this park equipment. And there's a squiggly signature with the name Georgina or G. Oxley, Mayor, underneath.
Wow.
Outrageous. Outrageous.
Now, anybody with a skeptical ear, I'm sure your ear perked up as soon as it said, the best way to combat this is a healthy immune system.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's that.
They lost me at healthy eating habits. That's where I was like, hang on.
Wow.
So that's made the news here. Here's a report. Coronavirus Melbourne. Fake playground sign says children can use equipment. And it's been reported. And I'll just play a quick audio clip now from the local news about the subject.
A Melbourne council has asked police to investigate fake COVID-19 signs found at local playgrounds. The signs falsely claim the City of Kingston has reopened playgrounds and contain misleading information about a strong immune system being the best defence against coronavirus. Mayor Georgina Oxley says the signs put children's lives at risk.
My message for that person is that Victoria Police will be investigating this matter and Kingston Council will be investigating this matter with CCTV footage that may be available in the locations. So it's probably best that the person who is responsible for this, that they turn themselves in because they are putting lives at risk.
Yes, it's just outrageous. And the mayor, Ms. Oxley, is quite beside herself about her name being used in this way, and the matter has been referred to police. I mean, who could we guess is behind this?
Well, now, I'm unfamiliar with the laws in Australia there. If the perpetrator who's putting these signs up is found, do you have any idea what sort of charges they would face?
Well, they should be tarred and feathered, but I'm not sure what the charges would be. I mean, it's a fake
There must be some kind of law against impersonating somebody. Like, I don't know what that law is, but there's got to be one.
Some kind of fraud endangerments.
Yeah. Endangerment, yeah. I mean,
they're pretending it's official and it's not. There's lies on it in the first place, and they're pretending to be something that they're not.
And putting like impersonating a
specifically
an entire council.
Yeah, specifically putting children in danger. I'd imagine any group presiding over such a thing would be inclined to go with the heaviest penalty possible. If they're endangering children as they are.
Are they doing much in the way of enforcement in Melbourne? Are people being fined for breaking the rules?
Yes. And we've been hearing little anecdotes about people having parties and then being found hiding in cupboards.
Yeah.
Because
I did see that on the news.
Things like that. It becomes obvious. Yeah, there was the one with some kind of party and apartment that had the sex workers, and that might have even been the one where they had too much Kentucky Fried Chicken. But yeah, there are little
did you say
clues.
Sex workers and KFC?
It could be.
Well, I mean, if
melting
you want to have an
two
appetite,
stories.
you need to have a feed up.
Where is this party? I want to go. Oh my God.
Melbourne.
That may be two separate things I'm merging.
And of course the fact that you can't actually see this enemy. There's lots of people keep saying the invisible enemy, and when you're walking around the street, just people look like people. They're not having big green signs on them, or their hair's not turned blue or something like that. So it's one of the insidious aspects of this this situation we have. And another aspect has come to our attention, and luckily there's a good outcome. You'll find this one interesting, Celestia. You'll get a laugh out of this too.
Lorna Jane.
Activewear retailer Lorna Jane fined nearly $40,000 over antivirus clothing line, including underwear, I think.
Wow.
This is brilliant.
It's kind of like the Mormons, hey? Like you got your magic on and nothing can hurt you.
Now, just to be clear, this isn't active wear for your face. This isn't like something you wear over your nose and mouth, right? This is like leggings and sports bras.
Leggings and
shirts
tops.
and
This is a range that they've apparently worked for the last 2 years. Yeah, but the company themselves have worked apparently for the last 2 years to develop chemical-free treatment that, when applied to activewear, protects the wearers against viruses and bacteria. They call it LJ Shield technology, and they claim that it's got these LJ Shield particles in it. And I'm just going to read one quote from the website, which says, LJ Shield breaks through the membrane shell of any toxic diseases, bacteria, or germs that come into contact with it, not only killing that microbe, but preventing it from multiplying into any more.
Good grief.
They need to tell us how they do that, because that sounds brilliant.
They don't. That's why they've just been fined $40,000.
Oh, no, they tell you how they do it. They do it chemically free. Wow. You guys, again, this is great podcasting. You can't see the fact that my jaw has been just hanging open agog.
It's unbelievable.
As I hear that advertisement. Wow.
It's unbelievable.
Now, have they been put out of business with this lawsuit, or is this just a blip on the radar?
This has just happened. So it was on the news like within the last week, and I think it was only yesterday, possibly, Friday the 17th here, that the TGA infringement, whatever they call it, press release went out saying that they've fined them. So I'm really happy with the speed with which the TGA have acted here. That's probably the only good thing about this. That's why we can have a bit of a laugh about what they've actually written there. Hopefully it's going to be a bit of a lesson for other companies who are trying to jump on the bandwagon and take advantage.
I wonder if people bought it. I wonder if they had, did people?
I reckon. Yeah. Must have done.
You mean I have to take mine back to the shop? Oh, well, I'll get a refund.
I haven't got the actual article in front of me, but there was another bit on there which said, who had been looking into it, said that the only way that this is going to protect you is if you actually wrap the leggings around your face and use it as a mask.
Okay, now to round off our last topic on the agenda here, and it's sort of to do with everything's to do with COVID-19 these days. Oh yes, here we go. The VAXXED 2 bus is now starting its tour of Australia. Yeah, they're following what happened in the United States with the VAXXED bus. It's a big black bus with the word VAXXED written on in huge letters. And it also carries the logo of the Australian Vaccination Risks Network, which used to be called the Australian Vaccination Skeptics Network, which used to be called just the Australian Vaccination Network. A long history with the skeptics fighting these people. But this appeared in a local newspaper not long ago up on the north coast, I think, of this state, New South Wales, up near Queensland, and the bus is currently in Queensland. And it says, how do you react to vaccines? We all react differently to medications, e.g., some people are allergic to penicillin. It's the same with vaccines. They are medications that are dangerous to some people and not to others. The AVN argue that our government has been silencing the voices of Australians whose health has been adversely affected by vaccines for years. This month, the AVN are launching the Australian VAXXED bus to amplify the voices of the vaccine injured. The bus is a mobile film studio, a screening facility, a memorial for children who have been injured or killed by vaccines, a celebration of healthy, unvaccinated children. It goes on with a link so you can register and link to them or see more about it. And the Australian Skeptics just sent out a press release to hopefully forewarn and forearm media and councils and stuff. So this is something we're facing at the moment, the VAXXED bus. We should have a Skeptic Zone bus, I think.
I was just gonna say, I wonder how much it would cost to raise money for a COVID-19 awareness bus to just follow this one around, just tailgate it.
Now, and this has happened in the States. I mean, they're copying what's happened in the States, the Vax bus, and unsuspecting parents will turn up. They've got a good run on the media. Unfortunately, after the hard work of people like our reporter, Dr. Rachel Dunlop, in stopping media, the media contacting these people, they're not the power they used to be, but maybe like COVID-19, if we let our guard down, these people can make a resurgence.
Have they said where they're going to go? Are they going to go to inner city Melbourne and set up shop there?
Well, at the moment, I'm not exactly sure how the tour is working. I think it's a bit secretive until they get near and then they let their local people know or something like that. Obviously, they're not going to be going to Victoria anytime soon. I think the tour is more or less Queensland, but it could come down into New South Wales.
But how are they managing that with border restrictions and borders being closed? Do they get around that?
I think a lot of the borders have opened up now, haven't they? So, or if they're not, then you just have to quarantine when you first go through.
If you're in, but if they've started in Queensland at the moment, they have pretty much free range to roam around Queensland.
Yeah.
I mean, our borders were never 100% shut. You just had to quarantine after you come in. So you'd have to go into a hotel for 2 weeks and then you could go free and do what you like after that.
I suspect we'll be hearing more about this in the coming weeks, though, what they're up to. But we hope this alert that we've sent out, outlining all the times that they've been using crazy conspiracy theories and saying outrageous things, especially with COVID-19. I mean, it's hoped that it can make a difference. And I'm just looking at a picture now. It's not hard to see, folks. If you just Google VAXXED bus Australia, you can see a big picture of it. It's a huge black bus and it's got media facilities. And we also wonder that if people are coming in to visit this bus and chat, are they observing correct social distancing? Somehow,
probably not.
We think
not.
not.
Because it's the same people that are going to Vegas, aren't they?
It's the same people that are thinking that it's a hoax.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if they would come to Victoria if they were allowed to and check out our hotspot.
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't think they're lying, are they? I think they genuinely believe what they say, so they probably would be perfectly happy to go there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure a lot of these people actually truly and sincerely believe that it's largely a hoax, or it's overblown, or it's not that serious, or it's an attempt by the government to suppress people, or on and on and on.
I just massively wonder, about whether these people who... I know there's a variety of reasons why people are believing that this is a hoax, but there is an unnatural amount of stuff on the internet about that, obviously false information. But you start to see stories now about, this person believed it was a hoax, but then their son's given them COVID and then they died. People are dying, people that genuinely believed that it wasn't, that COVID didn't even exist. And I wonder how much of that is going to happen before people actually change their minds.
I reckon it'll have to be a fair bit, because I've seen a few posts of, screenshots of the people's posts saying they don't believe it and then their obituaries. But it'd be so easy to say, oh, well, that guy's fake.
Yeah.
Like, people.
It needs to be somebody that they directly know. Yeah. It needs to be somebody that's in their family.
Yeah. Well, there's just a certain segment of the population where you need to know somebody directly who has died. You need one of your close relatives or close friends to, and not just get it and recover, because that reinforces the idea that, it's just like a minor flu, and, I hope humanity doesn't get to the point where everybody on Earth has got a close friend or relative that has died of this. But, if we keep going, hopefully enough of us will be a critical mass of people that do take things seriously.
Yes, we live in strange times, but luckily enough, the people I'm talking to are also strange, and I'd like to thank each and every one of them. Way up there in the Northern Territory with Noodle the Snake hanging around the office somewhere, Michelle Franklin, thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.
Right here in Sydney, not too far from where I am at the moment, Lara Benham, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Down there in Melbourne in lockdown, and we hope things get better, Michelle Bijkersma, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me today.
And Viva Las Vegas, Celestia Ward.
Thanks, Richard. Stay strange and stay safe.
Oh, speaking of that, just before we go, Squaring the Strange, your fabulous podcast you do with Pasquale and Ben, how's that going?
It's helping to keep me sane. It is something to do.
And I think that says a lot.
I'll vouch for Squaring the Strange as well. It's the first podcast that I started listening to at the beginning when they started it, and it's still one of my favourite.
Oh, thank you, Michelle.
It's a great podcast. But for this week, cheers, everybody, holding up my coffee cup. Everybody's looking for their coffee cup now. Oh, cheers.
They're all empty.
And usually when you say it's 5 o'clock somewhere, it's just a saying, but it actually is 5 o'clock here in Las Vegas. So
that's good enough for me.
I'm off to my fridge, not the bar.
It's time to run downstairs to the fridge, all right. Thank you for listening to The Skeptic Zone, and thank you very much to Michelle Bijkersma in Melbourne, Michelle Franklin in Humpty-Doo. I just like saying the word. Lara Benham here in Sydney, and Celestia Ward in Las Vegas from the fabulous Squaring the Strange podcast. Great to have you in this week's Think Tank. And I think we'll be doing another Think Tank, let me think about it, in 2 or 3 weeks. Thank you to those people who continue to support the Skeptic Zone by your regular contributions at PayPal or Patreon. Much appreciated. Thank you to those new people who've just come on board to help support the Skeptic Zone. And I had an exciting week, I must say, folks. In the past week, I actually managed to score a full day's work in the entertainment industry, a TV production. And that's the first one I've done in, many months. So that was a most welcome thing to happen. It's very encouraging that productions might be starting to kick up again, ramp up again. I hope so. But that was the first day's work I've had in many, many months. So you can possibly understand how much I do appreciate people who chip in and contribute to the Skeptic Zone, because it really, I can't tell you how much it really does help me and help bring the Skeptic Zone out to everybody every week. Coming up on next week's show, more logical fallacies with Michelle Bijkersma. In fact, the one that I was going to play today, I've held over until next week. I think there's another Book of Tim with Tim Mendham coming up. Another case of somebody writing a letter on a typewriter. We'll see about that. And as ever, I don't know. It depends on what the week will bring. But for this week, with some strange birds singing outside, I wonder what those Skeptic Zone cats are. They were knocking on the door a minute ago. This is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for show notes, contacts, and to access the back catalogue of episodes going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone podcast on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, visit our Facebook page, or leave a review on iTunes. You can also support the Skeptic Zone via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone podcast is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian skeptics or any other skeptical organisation. Edit. I'm sorry, I've got this cat who just won't leave me alone. She's been on my leg up here. She's right behind. Come here. Come on.
Mine are running around like they're insane. Yeah. They are running around at the moment.
I always
Mine's
feel
at the
left
door.
out in the cat segment of the talking. Everyone always has a cat to produce. I don't have that. I'll show
Mine
you
is meowing at the door.
Do you have a dog?
I have.
Can everybody hear this? Can everybody hear that?
Oh, you have a
That's
snake.
amazing.
You have an actual danger noodle.
Out.
Yes.
Out.
Well, he's not very dangerous. He's pretty harmless. Look, here he is.
No
He's
joke.
gonna come out and say hello.
That is so beautiful.
And
wow.
I'll give you a
Good
guess what
God.
his name is. Celestia, I reckon you'll get it. My kids named him. His name is Noodle.
Noodle
Is
from
so pretty.
Danger Noodle. Yeah.
Danger Noodle. Sorry about that. I had to kick the cat out because it was about to topple everything over. All right.